Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Alison, for your words and for that sermon, for that message about the cross. Definitely taking it with me. Hope the kids will too. So this morning we look at there are two people here, right? Peter and Jesus, and boy, did Peter, put his foot in his mouth. We have last week we had this wonderful moment when Jesus is asking and doing this survey of who he is and what people say, and people say John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah, prophets, and then Peter says the Christ, the Son of the Living God. Like he nails it. He's got it. He's on top. He knows exactly who Jesus is. He sees it and he recognizes him. And then you see how deep he falls this morning when he's called a Satan. And Jesus tells him, "Get behind me." I feel bad for Peter. And it just shows that it's really, we can be so right one moment and so wrong the next. And how we always have to discern what we say, where we say it, how we see people, and how we make decisions, and who we are. Peter was on top of the world. He was called the rock, the foundation of the church. And today he's called a stumbling block. He's called a Satan. He's being told to get behind and let Jesus do what he needs to do. The other one in this is Jesus. And as I'm listening to this, and just really the lessons that we've had so far from Matthew, I was thinking he didn't come to be nice. We have this image of God. We have this image of Jesus. For God, it's usually an old man with white, long beard and a senile, loving, where love covers everything. And for Jesus, we have this beautiful picture with a, blue-eyed guy carrying a nice lamb in beautiful green pastures, blessing children. And I think sometimes we really get in a danger of portraying our God as this senile, nice, sweet God that just loves and just will allow for anything. And if anything, we can just see Jesus in the recent, in the recent readings from the Matthew. We can see him as someone who is angry, who is someone who makes mistakes and can be harsh with a woman who wanted to heal her daughter. It's someone who doesn't have the best answers sometimes, and somebody who can tell his best friend for who he was in that moment, "Get behind me, Satan." Jesus, I was thinking, I think he's kind and loving. And then he knows exactly why he came, but he did not come to be nice. And I wonder sometimes in our Christian lives, we have nothing nice to say. We shouldn't say anything at all. And we should just smile and be sweet and nice. I think we're called to kindness. I think we're called to love. And that is anything but just being nice for the sake of being nice. If we're to learn from Jesus this morning, he's showing us that he did not forget why he came. He has not forgotten who he is, why he was sent. Yes, the Christ, the Son of living God. His disciples were going to put him on the wall of honors for all the prophets. His disciples were ready to make him a king. And Peter probably has his own ideas of what the Christ, the Son of living God, should look like and do. And that's a big expectation of maybe him ruling, him being a king, him taking up, not the cross, but taking up the kingdom and maybe the rule of the country. And Peter wants that for him. And I wonder also in that moment, how many politicians out there started as a kind-hearted people who really wanted just to serve and wanted to do something right, and how many of them had the disciples around, who convinced them eventually, no, you can actually rule. You don't have to serve. You get a taste of power and you can get more. And I think in recent political scene in our country, we could just see, one party over the other, a person over the other, and who is going to get the most, who is really there to serve, who really wants to serve and who wants to rule. How easy it is to lose the sight of what is your purpose. Well, Jesus didn't. And that's why he was not nice. That's why he was not just smiling, and he wasn't sweet. That's why he knew exactly what he needed to do and tell Peter to get behind him, because Jesus knew that in his whole life that he came, what he came to do, that he everything that he's done from his baptism, all the miracles, all the conflicts with authorities, it was all for this one purpose, why he came for this hour. Well, he came to give his life for us. He came to this earth. He was willing to take upon himself the form of the human being, to be one of us, to be among us, because we needed to be saved. He came to give his life, and he knew it. And he says this to his disciple, that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo that great suffering at the hands of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. He knew why he came. He didn't forget that. He didn't get sidetracked by maybe people who adored him, who wanted to make him a king, because he knew that if he didn't do it, there would be no future for us. There would be no future for me. Jesus knew that he needed to bring his life forward, because I wouldn't have life if he didn't. I wouldn't have eternal life if he didn't. He came to reconcile us humans with God. And he wasn't letting anything to distract him. He was going to do it. And that was his purpose, why he came. However, as he became human, and we had all these emotions that we talked about: anger, joy, frustration, annoyance, decisiveness, love. All of that contributed to another one, and that was fear. As Jesus became human, he became fully human, and he was afraid. He knew why he came. It was in front of him, and he is telling his disciples, I'm assuming he wants a support. I'm not assuming, because later in Gethsemane he told them, stay up with me, pray with me. The hour is coming and I'm scared. Who wouldn't be? Alison showed, just a much bigger cross to carry around, and that's nothing compared to what Jesus did for us, the cross that he. So if we imagine just carrying that around as a big inconvenience, how can we imagine Jesus carrying the real one, the one that gave him death and shame and damnation in the eyes of all the humanity, because he died on that cross? It was a shameful death. So he's telling his disciples, he's telling them, I must go. And I'm assuming, and that he tells them because he wants their support. He needs them. He needs friends. And that's another part of thing that we can learn from Jesus this morning, besides keeping our eyes on the prize, keeping our eyes on what is our purpose in life. What is it that we need to do for our family, for our church, for our life? The other part today that Jesus is showing us, that you need others. You need friends. You need community. Because even in the last hour, we can see him saying, now is my soul troubled. And what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour, but for this purpose I have come to this hour. And if it's possible, take this cup away from me. But yet still, yes, I am here. I will go. Jesus, he's ready. He's going to do this. He's not going to let anything take it away. But at the same time, he wants his disciples to support him. He's asking them, he's telling them so they would know. In the Gethsemane, he's asking to stay up with them, with him. And now, if you can see what Peter did, or what better to say, what Satan did, Peter took him aside and became to rebuke him. He took him aside. He didn't say it in front of everybody else, because maybe somebody else would say, like, hey, let Jesus do what he's supposed to do. Peter took Jesus aside and started to tell him, between just him, just, four eyes there, between Jesus and Peter, Peter telling him, God forbid it, Lord, this must never happen to you. And that's what happens when we lose the sight of the purpose, is when Satan takes us aside, when he takes us away from our friends, when he takes us away from our faith community. When you're alone, when I'm alone, the things start to creep up on me and say, are you going to make it? Are you going to be able to sustain your job? Are you going to make it financially? Are you, oh my gosh, you're so alone. And maybe your children will be in trouble. Will you have all the strength that you need to take care of them? What about your parents who are getting older? Are you going to be a good enough child and daughter taking care of them? Are you going to lose your job? Are you going to keep it? Do people like you? I mean, all these things that we go into deep, feeling the shame and insecurity that happens when we're alone. And Satan wants that. He creeps up when we are alone, when we don't have the support of community. And then when we talk about the church, we're here this morning and we hear the encouragement. We hear encouragement of keeping the cross. Maybe it's a magnet, maybe it's your necklace. We see encouragement of keeping that in front of our eyes. If we weren't this morning here, we wouldn't hear the children's sermon and we wouldn't carry it with us today. We need the community. When we decide that maybe we don't need other brothers and sisters, when we don't need to be in church that often, that's when Satan takes us aside and start telling us, rebuke us, and plant these insecurities, these thoughts that we can't make it, then maybe it's better just to watch out for yourself and not to follow him as faithfully as you would like to, and all these things. Maybe the cross that Jesus is telling you, take up and carry. Maybe that was just a metaphor. Maybe that's just back in those ages, 2,000 years ago. Maybe today it's much different. You can't do that. You have to watch out for you and your family. And you can just go on and on what applies maybe in your life, what kind of thoughts, what kind of doubts he can bring into your mind and into your heart. When he takes you aside, when he takes you away from people who support you. So Jesus needed disciples to go on and fulfill what he came to do. And what he came to do was to die on the cross for us. So the cross that we're going to carry, we can have a certainty that in community with brothers and sisters, that we have a certainty that with Jesus by our side, we will be able to go through every day. We'll be able to go through life, and that something much better is waiting for us. Amen.